Tuesday. Want to welcome back to the studio the Interim Superintendent of Battle Creek Public Schools, Kimberly Parker-DeVauld. Good morning.
Thank you for having me this morning.
Thanks for coming today. We appreciate that very much. And really what we're set to talk about has to do with strategic planning. I guess let's talk about what that really means. First of all, it sounds like a fancy buzz phrase. What does strategic planning really mean as far as the schools are concerned?
Well, in regards to the schools, it means that we're developing a roadmap. It's kind of going to serve as a very specific plan for how we transform outcomes for students. Mm-hmm. It's no secret that Battle Creek has some challenges, but we have a lot of opportunities. And so we are pretty much engaging on a journey to really outline what we need to do to improve our practices.
So it is a process by which you're looking at those challenges, but I presume that it's an all-encompassing thing. You look at the whole picture when you're planning strategically, right?
Absolutely. And so the most important part of this process is to make sure that all stakeholder voices are heard. So we want to make sure that community members, that parents, that our political leaders in the area have an opportunity to give us some input on what we need to do differently.
And you figured out a way to do that.
Yes. And so we're calling those community conversations. Mm-hmm. And as a part of this process, we are pretty much going on the road and doing what I call the road show. Showing up at every single school in the district. We have a very specific schedule for those that have been posted on both our website and our Facebook page so that parents, community members, and anyone else that wants to come out and just hear about the current reality of Battle Creek Public Schools and then take an opportunity to give us some feedback on what we need to do differently.
Mm-hmm. Every school.
Every school.
Wow.
So it's a pretty aggressive approach. We have a very aggressive timeline because we really want to make sure that we're ready to do some things different in the fall of 2016. Mm-hmm. So given the fact that we have a very short timeline, we're out there. We've already done a conversation at Lamora Park Elementary and J. Kellogg, and we've had conversations with our staff. So we continue tonight at Dudley Elementary.
All right. And what time will that be?
And that's from 5:30 to 7. Approximately 30 minutes of the session includes a presentation from me where I just give some information about our current reality. We look at the challenges that we're faced with, and then at the end of that conversation, open it up to receive some feedback.
All right. And we'll talk a little bit about that feedback and the opportunities you have to offer some coming up in just a minute on WBCK 8:13. WBCK, Richard Piet Show Tuesday. Kimberly Parker-DeVauld is here, Interim Superintendent of the Battle Creek Public Schools. Community Conversations, the road show, as you put it, Dudley tonight, starting at 5:30. You say you've done a couple of these already.
Yes.
Plenty more to go, but what has been some of the feedback that you've heard so far?
So what's interesting about this process is that it's facilitated by an outside group called Partners in School Innovation.
I see.
And the portion of the event they facilitate and have questions about, and board members and myself, we're not a part of that process right now. We really want to make it a transparent, very open process where you're able to really give us your feedback. And so we will receive a report from them around January. So those conversations that have been going on, I have not been a part of, and I'm waiting on that report, which will inform our strategic planning steering committee. So we have about 10 community members from various parts of the community that are serving on our steering committee that will receive those reports to actually inform the board's process.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. It makes sense that when you have as much at stake as you do, the process that you follow to gather this information probably needs to be uniform, probably needs to be welcoming, et cetera. And so, and this is not a reflection on you or anyone, other than the notion that sometimes when the powers are in the room, people don't feel that they can be as open. I presume that's what this is about. So the format tries to help foster that free speech.
That's correct. We really want it to be a very open and honest opportunity for individuals to share both their strengths and the district's challenges so that we can actually make some really good informed decisions. We want that honest and open communication because that's what's going to drive improvements in the district. We want to understand our I guess what the community thinks about our schools and what they need from us.
Mm-hmm. Do you expect, and this is speculation, of course, but do you expect that when you see that report in January, you're going to see things that you haven't already heard?
I don't expect that actually. I
Yeah.
think we have a very good understanding of the current context in Battle Creek, but I think we need some affirmation around whether or not we're making the right choices when we begin to engage in change.
Yeah, and to some extent, sometimes these choices are tough, and you're going to have opinions all over the place, we presume.
Absolutely. And we're in the process of creating a new and ambitious vision for the school district. And so that's going to be coupled with some hard decisions about what I call a stop doing list because we can't continue to do everything and do everything well. We need to really focus so that we are ensuring that every single child in Battle Creek Public Schools, we are serving well and we are ensuring that they are all college and career ready.
Hmm. I think the notion has been up to this point, leading up to this point, that the district isn't as large as it once was, and just by inferring some of the things that you've just said, the expectation is that the district will have to contract more.
We'll have to make some choices, absolutely. I will share this evening some facts about our current funding, our current revenue, our expenses, where we are, so that people have a real understanding of the current reality and the why. Why are we having to make some choices, and how does that impact the children that we serve? Because at the end of the day, it's about them.
Is our district and the challenges we face here similar to those in other cities our size?
Absolutely. I think we need to look at the fact that a lot of districts are struggling with declining enrollment, declining finances, but we're able to overcome those challenges if we make some really good decisions and we focus our efforts on what really matters for kids.
Hmm. So if there's a main point that you want to make in your remarks tonight and have made in the others, what is that?
We need you. That's what I would say to the community. We need you to be engaged. We need you to show up, and we need to hear from you so that as we go through this process, that we are ensuring that we meet your needs. Because at the end of the day, this is a community, and our schools are the center of that. We want to make sure that all voices are heard.
I realize that up to this point you haven't heard what folks have said in these sessions, but you're there in the beginning, and so you've seen the response. Are they rising to that occasion and showing up like you want them to?
Absolutely. The first conversation we had at Lamora had over 25 participants, which was much more than I had expected at that time, given the short notice. And so now that we have used the media as an opportunity to really spread the word, I'm expecting more participation. So as I said, we have it up on our Facebook page so that you can see the dates and where we will be. And it doesn't matter if your child goes to that school or not. You can pick any conversation and be a part of it.
Okay, that's a good point to make, that you make yourself available on whatever day is convenient for you. It doesn't matter which school.
Yes.
All right, Kimberly Parker-DeVauld is here. We're talking about community conversations as it relates to the Battle Creek Public Schools. We're back in just a moment. WBCK, Richard Piet Show, Tuesday. Kimberly Parker-DeVauld is here, Battle Creek Public Schools Interim Superintendent. You have a chance to participate in community conversations about the district that will help form a strategic plan for the district in the coming months, and that's tonight at Dudley Elementary, 5:30, and there are more, so check the Facebook page, Battle Creek Public Schools, for that schedule. What's the expectation as far as the timeline after you have this information, and how would you move forward?
Yeah, this is, like I said, a very rapid and aggressive timeline. Our last conversation is February 23rd, and that's at Battle Creek Central. And so what I'd like to really make sure everyone understands is that that last conversation is open to anyone who missed any of the others. So by that end of the February month, month, we want to make sure that everyone's had an opportunity to give us some input.
Mm-hmm.
Then this will drive a recommendation to the school board as early as March. So by the end of March, we hope to have a recommendation for a full plan for the school board, because we need to implement as early as the fall of 2016. But again, this is a 3 to 5 year strategic plan,
Sure.
and we will prioritize what needs to happen first and use the information we receive to determine that.
That is aggressive. I mean, your last meeting is at the end of February, and so if there are changes that need to be made, or procedures, or certainly a plan, this has got to move quickly.
Absolutely. And so the steering committee is meeting also as these conversations are occurring, and they will receive some reports, some interim reports from these conversations to kind of begin the development of that plan, so that we're not trying to do all of it at the end of February for a recommendation in March.
Mm-hmm. This is all going on while you're in an interim position. There will, we presume, be a superintendent search at some point down the road, and some organizations undertake strategic planning after the new leader is in place. This is the other way, but there's a reason for that.
Yes, and it has to do with the sense of urgency around creating better opportunities for our students. And so the process will also outline what kind of superintendent does Battle Creek need? What kind of superintendent do they need in order to implement the plan that is a result of the community?
Yeah, so this helps shape that job description, and that makes sense to do this first then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so anyone who decides to come into this position will have an understanding of the community needs and will be able to walk out the plan.
Mm-hmm. All right. Have folks been, I mean, you've set up these conversations in forums led by moderators of sorts and such, but have folks come to you anyway and been communicative with you outside of that?
Absolutely. I think one of the greatest strengths of this community is everyone's willingness to engage. And so I've had a lot of different individuals approach me with their willingness to help and to help us solve problems at the same time. And so it's been really interesting and affirming to know that you have a lot of people in this community who want to see our schools do well. And so it's about organizing all of that in a way that actually moves this district forward.
Mm-hmm. We presume, too, that some of what you hear and will hear from these conversations is rooted in a discomfort about change and uncertainty about the future and so on. How have you been responding to that?
So it's really important that I help individuals see the why. Why do we need to make these decisions? Because change is hard for individuals when they don't see the need for change.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we pretty much write this story of change in Battle Creek, I make sure that I am very clear about why and being transparent about the information, the current reality, and the data that we have.
Are folks receptive to that?
So far, it's been extremely positive, extremely positive. And what I hear from the community is a thank you for allowing them to have the opportunity to give us voice in this process.
All right. Well, let's repeat where you are tonight so folks can look at their calendars and make adjustments if they need to. Tonight is the next community conversation.
Please join me at Dudley STEM Elementary. We will be there at 5:30. We won't take much of your time. It's 5:30 to 7 p.m.
All right. Best of luck. Let's stay in touch on all of this, shall we?
Thank you.
All right. Kimberly Parker-DeVauld, Interim Superintendent, Battle Creek Public Schools, 820.